Welcome to Thriving with Chiropractic, where Dr. Mosier from Mosier Family Chiropractic shares a variety of topics designed to empower, inspire, and give hope. Take a few notes and enjoy the lesson.
Hey folks, Dr. Mosier here, and I have a really special guest with me, Derek Peterson. He is a phenomenal marketing expert, but he's quite an athlete, but he went through quite a process. So Derek, I want you to dive in. What was that process like that you went through?
Yeah, so a little story that I went through. I'll tell you a little bit about where I was and then where I went and then how I kind of came back from it from a health perspective. But, Dr. Mosier, you know my story. Probably 3 years ago, I was a 6-time Ironman triathlete. I competed on a national level. I competed overseas in competitions, in U.S. national championships. And, fitness was always such a huge part of my life, but I had reached that point where I was racing at an elite level at an elite distance. And many around me would consider me to be one of the fittest people that they know. Right. So on the outside, I looked healthy. I was healthy, and I was racing 140.6 miles at a pretty furious pace. And then something happened. I woke up one morning. We were actually going on a cruise with my wife, and I had a stiff neck. And I was like, but it was a weird stiff neck, almost like I had whiplash, like the front part of my neck was sore, and I had to put my hand behind my head to lift myself out of bed, like I got whiplash. I was like, oh, that's weird. And the pain got worse and worse. So I was like, you know what? I'm on a cruise. I'm going to enjoy this. I'll pop a couple Advil, right? And make it go away. And it did. And then I had to take more and more Advil to kind of make that pain go away as I got off the boat, and the pain started to matriculate down into the middle of my back, my lower back. And I thought, oh, you know what? Maybe it's my mattress. And so, we as I started to go through this slow drip and declination, if that's a word, in my health. As things started to hurt, I started to get stiffer joints in my shoulders. As a runner, I felt that when I was going out, my knees started to get heavy. My legs felt like they had cement blocks. I saw my pace decline. And it was just this slow drip and this slow decline that happened over the course of about a year. And it happened in different parts of my body. So naturally, I was like, well, if it's in my neck, I have a problem with my neck. If it's in my back, I have a problem with my neck. Now I have a problem with my knees and my hips. And it continued to degrade over time. And I tried throwing everything at it, Dr. Mosier. I mean, I was like, I threw what most people would. They go to the doctor, the medical doctor, and the medical doctor would look at my knee and say, okay, well, yeah, let's x-ray your knee. Let's see what's wrong with your knee. Let's drain the fluid from your knee. And they took x-rays, and there's actually nothing structurally wrong with your knee, but we're going to suggest that we do PRP injections in it. I was like, well, why? I'm like, you just told me there was nothing wrong with my knee. Why would you inject the needle into it? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'd go to the doctor for my shoulder, because all of a sudden I couldn't lift my shoulder up above my head to wash my own hair. And then it actually happened to both my shoulders over time as this process disease started to continue to riddle my body. And, I got to the point where, I went to a surgeon. I thought maybe I needed shoulder surgery. So the shoulder surgeon, who was paid to cut, took an MRI of my shoulder, and which costs an exorbitant amount of money, and told me, yeah, well, we're looking at this, Derek, and I think we need to operate. And this is about a year into this, where I was getting my knees drained weekly. And I'm talking a big syringe to the point where I couldn't bend my knee. Right. I mean, it was bad. But there was nothing wrong with my knees. And then my shoulders, I couldn't wash my own hair at night without leaning my head down to bring my head to my hands, because I couldn't put them up to my head. I had such bad sciatica pain in my hips that if I didn't take an Advil at night, it was just one Advil, was just enough that I needed, that I would need crutches to go to the bathroom. And my body, the muscles in my body started to slowly atrophy over time, because I couldn't bear any weight on them. I couldn't swim. I couldn't bike. I couldn't run. I couldn't walk. I had nights where I would crawl to the bathroom and crawl back. And then I'd crawl into bed and I would weep because I always identified as an athlete as someone that was fit and strong and fast. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out what was happening to my body. And it was completely demoralizing and started to have mental effects. I'm a very positive person, somebody who's very upbeat, but it got to a point where I started to feel depressed. It was affecting my work. It was affecting my relationships. It was all I could think about every single day. What is wrong with me? What can I throw at this thing? And it wasn't until I met a chiropractor. I went to all the medical doctors in the world, and the medical doctors wanted to prescribe me medication for my problem. Nobody wanted to look at what my problem actually was and get to the solution. So we continued to look at, okay, what, I decided to seek out what most people call alternative care, which kind of frustrates me as a term because it almost intimates that it's like third world or like you shouldn't be doing this. Yeah. So we all have a good mutual friend in Dr. Ben Lerner, and I went to him and I told him what was going on, and he said, it's probably not your knees, your hips, your shoulders, or any of that stuff. You probably don't need surgery on any of that. It's probably what you're eating. And I was like, but when I eat food, my stomach doesn't bother me. I don't, I eat a slice of pizza and wash it down with a beer. I'm like, it's fine. I don't have any cramping or any gut issues. He goes, but you're slowly building this glass of inflammation in your body. And when it starts to spill over, it manifests in you in the form of rapid and rancid inflammation. So he suggested I fast for 3 days and see how I felt. So I was like, sure, ate nothing for 3 days. And all of a sudden I felt this pins and needles tingling in my legs, my legs that I couldn't bend my knees. I needed to put and brace myself to bend over if I dropped something in my kitchen. All of a sudden I didn't need to do that anymore after 3 days. I was like, wow, maybe there is something to this, and started to realize that it was my food that I was putting in my body. And it was not just the food, it was all the toxic things I was putting in my body over time. I had this awakening to realize that I'd built toxicity up inside of me, and the way my body chose to share with me, like, hey dude, stop. It was through inflammation. It was in a massive way. Some people it's cancer, some people it's autoimmune. And I would say I was on my road. If not, I did have an autoimmune type condition. I had arthritis, everything. So we decided to do a gut microbiome test and decided to do a food sensitivity test to establish a baseline of what was going inside of my body. And when that came back, Ben was like, this is probably the worst microbiome test and food sensitivity test I've ever seen in my career. Right. And he sees a lot of them. And I know Dr. Moser, I'm sure you see a lot of these as well.
Yes.
There was pretty much nothing I could eat. Everything was blown out. He was like, you have a blown out gut. So we're going to cut out all things that are inflammatory. And what's interesting is my entire diet consisted of dairy, like pastas, breads, gluten, and sugar. As an endurance athlete, we burn an insane amount of calories. So to put those calories back in, I can't eat carrots and celery all the time because I would just disappear, right? Or at least I thought that. Yes. So I decided to, obviously I wasn't racing. I was barely walking at this point. I decided, you know what? Okay, I'm going to cut it out. I love cheese. I love pizza, and I could eat those things until I was blue in the face, and I still stayed very thin. And because of my metabolism that had just been built over the years. So I cut them all out and I lost a lot of weight. I also lost a lot of weight because I couldn't push any weight. I couldn't exercise. So I went from 180 pounds, 6 foot, 5-6% body fat down to 155. So I lost a lot of weight, and it was like I stripped down everything inside of me that I had built up the wrong way with the wrong nutrients. And I started to, Dr. Moser, lo and behold, it didn't happen overnight, right? It took me 45 years to kind of abuse my body. And a lot of us living in this society that we live in today of immediate gratification. Just everything is here now at your fingertips. I can order something on Amazon. It's here in 5 minutes. I want it now. That most people reach for the medicine cabinet. They reach for the pill. They reach for the needle because it's quick. And they don't realize that to heal your body needs time, and you got to stop putting the things in your body that are abusing it and causing you to have these terrible symptoms. So I said, I'm just going to remove all the toxicity and get out of my own body's way and give it a chance to do what it's intended to do, which is heal. And it did. So I wanted a massive gut supplementation regimen. I was taking all the anti-inflammatory supplements, doubling down on vitamin D, which is very low. I have fish oils. I was taking gut and detox pills, enzymes. I took out all Advil because I learned through this journey that Advil strips your gut lining and actually makes it worse. So Here I was popping Tic Tacs to solve my problem that was from my gut, just making my gut worse. So Advil to me, I look at as rat poison. I would never touch that. I would swallow rat poison before I would swallow Advil if I have a headache or something like that. So that journey began, and it was a journey, Dr. Moser. It took discipline, it took time, and it took 6 months. And day by day, inch by inch, anti-inflammatory glyphosate-free meal at a time, I slowly started to feel better. And I noticed things like, oh, wow, I didn't have to get my knees drained this week. Like, oh, wait a second. I can reach in the spice cabinet right now and put my hand above my head. Whoa. And I would tell my wife, look at this. Look at this. I can grab the pepper now. And I mean, she was happy for me because she saw what I went through. And it got me back to a point where I could live again. And when you start to gain that momentum, then you want to continue to search for other things that are in your life that are causing this toxic drip in your life. So I eliminated other things. I said, what else am I putting in me or on me, right, that is causing this? What's in the air that I'm breathing? What can I do to purify that? What's in the water? I drank tap water, right? Thinking, whatever, it's water. Well, then I realized that you should not drink tap water. I did the research. I took the time. I looked at the different filters. I didn't just go buy the Brita because it was good marketing. I did the research to find out what was the best filter and why, and made that purchase. The best filter for my air and why. I looked at things like the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And, that was something I had no idea, right? I thought, hey, Dr. Moser, I'm eating strawberries. I'm eating celery. I'm doing good, right? Well, we always talk about eating these, my wife likes the chocolate covered and chocolate dipped strawberries, right? They taste really good. Well, if you don't buy a strawberry organic, it is but it's instead of being dipped in chocolate, it's dipped in Roundup, right? So if you've ever seen the side of a bottle of Roundup, it's got skull and crossbones on it, and they just settled an $11 billion lawsuit for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that it causes. So, popping these strawberries, I'm popping stuff inside of my body unless I buy it organic, right? That's what the Dirty Dozen. So I looked at those 12 things that I was buying, and I said, I'm no longer buying an apple, a celery stick, a strawberry, unless it's organic. So I peeled that off. And then, I looked at the Clean 15. I was like, okay, these are the foods that I don't need to buy organic because they're okay. They're safe. So I did the education. I did the work, and man, it was hard. But for me, it wasn't as hard as I think it is for other people because I had hit the floor. Like I had been run over by a bus and then it backed over me again. Right. So I had reached rock bottom where I was crawling to the bathroom. Not everyone goes through that. Not everyone experiences that, but if everyone continues to swallow the glyphosates, eat the highly inflammatory foods, put the toxins in the air and in the water slowly into your body, it's like an IV drip of poison into you, right? We've all seen the Dateline special, where the lady poisons her husband over time by just putting a little bit of rat poison in his cup and he slowly gets sick and dies, right? We're basically all doing that, right? Nobody dies from that one cigarette. It's the cigarette over and over and over time that kills you. And all these things that are in our life baked out of convenience and baked out of mass production, once you become aware of them and eliminate them, you will feel better. That neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, get adjusted, do those things that you need to do, stay physically active. But if you eliminate those toxins, I feel like I've never felt before in my life. I feel better than I did when I was competing at an elite level. Nothing hurts. Like literally nothing hurts. And then you become addicted to that. You become addicted to feeling good and not needing 16 cups of tea or coffee to get through the day, and sleeping well, and like just your body functioning like it's supposed to. But it's one of these things where many people right now, I worry, and I know this is why you do this show, is to bring awareness to the people out there that maybe they didn't experiencing what I'm experiencing, but they're having a little bit of pain somewhere, or they're having an issue, and there are toxins around us everywhere. And there's so much we can do through supplementation, through proper preventative chiropractic care, to put our body back to where it needs to be so our body can heal, and then to take these toxins out of our face so that we can, go and allow our body to just heal naturally. Because, a lot of this crap that's out there wasn't here a couple hundred years ago. And there's some amazing medical technologies. They're awesome. Don't get me wrong. Not knocking the medical industry. But generally speaking, we need to get back to living the way we're intended to live, right? Like in a loincloth, like out in the Serengeti, killing food with a spear. Maybe not to that extreme, but it's all these things that are brought into our life out of convenience that are killing us.
Absolutely. Well, I want to pull out something for the audience, is that you're the definition of look good, feel good, right? When you were competing at the high level, and then that slow drip to where you may have or may not, but you were on the verge of an autoimmune disease. Pretty much your body was fighting you. And so you got this, guy with massive arms, 6-pack abs, crawling to the bathroom, and you got a young family just like I do. So it was wreaking havoc on your whole life. And so you didn't go under the knife or anything. You simply just changed your diet. And a lot of people don't realize this. And I want to bring this up because you mentioned Dirty Dozen, Clean 15. And a lot of people, especially around here in Southern Indiana, this is a new concept. So I want to dive into that. And also you mentioned the term glycophates. I can't talk today, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
These toxins that are wreaking havoc on our lives. So you have the Adapt Health podcast show. So this is something that I want to encourage all of our listeners to jump in on, because you and Dr. Ben Lerner are having these massive, impactful conversations. I listened to one recently, how you were talking about taking the D, vitamin D, and it was a really fun introduction. But vitamin D is so powerful. But let's talk about the Dirty Dozen for a second. Strawberries is always at the top. If you get non-organic strawberries, it's really bad, right? Non-organic things are a lot cheaper, cost efficient to buy. So most people buy non-organic things. There's certain things that you just really, really want to get clean. You really want to get organic. Now, if you jump over to avocados, correct me if I'm wrong, avocados, it's not really that necessary to get them in a organic format because they're pretty well. But let's talk about why are certain foods dirty and certain foods are clean.
Yeah. So it really comes down to the ability and need to feed a lot of people, right? So, and to do it at the lowest possible cost for the maximum amount of profit. And in order to do that, in order to make a lot of strawberries for people to eat and produce mass quantities of them that are free of bugs and all those things, the process to produce an organic strawberry costs more. right? And that is baked into the price. So if I reach for the organic strawberries versus the non-organic strawberries, I'm going to pay more. And we're going to talk about that in a second and why you should pay more for the organic. But the non-organic strawberry, to most people, they're like, hey, it's a strawberry. This is healthy, right? Mm-hmm. But they spray it with glyphosates, which are a variety of different chemicals that most of us can't pronounce, that has 17 letters in them. And these things are meant to kill things, to kill the bugs and to kill the parasites and kill those things that go on the strawberry. And that's I get that. Okay. But they also kill you because it goes inside of that strawberry. Then that strawberry goes inside of you and you are what you eat. Right. So if you would not take a strawberry in your house, put it on a plate, spray it with Roundup, and then eat it. Right. But if you buy a non-organic strawberry, that's in effect what you're doing. You can wash it, helps a little bit, but it's really baked inside of that thing. And there's a variety of foods. If you Google the Dirty Dozen, it's put out by the Environmental Working Group every year. There's 12 foods. The strawberry is always at the top. And these are foods that you should buy organic because they are covered in glyphosates and pesticides and things to try to keep those bugs off. Now, when you buy the non-organic or when you buy the organic, it costs more. But I would argue you're going to pay now at the grocery store, like bleep, you go through the thing, or you're going to pay later when you are at the doctor getting the fluid drained out of your knees or the chemotherapy put inside of your body. So you're going to pay one way or another. You choose. And I think the answer is pretty obvious which one you want to choose. Then there's a list of foods that are on what we call the Clean 15. And these are foods that you can buy organic, but that's straight up marketing, right? There's no need to buy things like broccoli and cauliflower organic. And you're like, well, why, Derek? Don't they just spray that with the same glyphosates? No, they don't, because they don't have to. Those foods have a natural pesticide built inside of them that keep bugs off them. It's nature's pesticide, and it's not a bad pesticide. So it keeps them off it. Asparagus, things with an outer shell, right? Mangoes, bananas, you mentioned the avocado, another great one. You don't need to spend the extra money for organic. So I think a lot of people are like, I'm eating everything organic. That's it. And listen, you can do that, but you're going to spend $800 at the grocery store when you go shop. Stick to those 12 because the research has been done by the EWG, the Environmental Working Group. And you can be rest assured that you're going to greatly reduce the amount of glyphosates inside of you. And I would urge people, like, go get a sweat test. I did one. So you go and you basically sweat really good into a cup, and then they measure what's coming out of you. What are you sweating? And I was sweating Roundup. So, and a lot of us are. We had people that were sweating Agent Orange. Somebody I had on my podcast, she was sweating Agent Orange. And I was like, were you in Vietnam? And she's like, no. But I was sweating Agent Orange, the same chemicals that are in Agent Orange. So there's a lot of things you'd be surprised that you sweat out. And that's a great way to see like what toxins are inside of your body. So that was eye-opening for me. I was like, okay, all right, cutting all that out. And we don't, again, think it's killing us. It's not like I eat that glyphosate dipped strawberry that's not organic and immediately I'm just vomiting on the side of the road. It doesn't happen like that. It is that slow IV drip of toxicity. We all have this glass. I always use the analogy, Dr. Mojo, we all have a glass. My glass might be smaller than your glass, right? Mm-hmm. But when I fill it up with toxins from the lotions I put on my body, the deodorant I put under my arms, the air that I'm breathing, the strawberries that I'm eating, eventually it reaches its tipping point and it starts to pour over. When it pours over with a symptom, and its symptom for me was inflammation. For you, it could be something completely different. So I encourage those who are listening, don't wait for that glass to pour over, because it's going to. Most people get cancer, autoimmune, these conditions in their 40s and 50s, and it's not genetic. It's you just abused yourself for 30, 40, 50 years, and now it's showing its face. And it's your body speaking to you. So, these Dirty Dozen specifically, they're one of a great number of things you can do to reduce that toxic load on your body.
I love it. this has been a really good show, and I really appreciate you joining me. And how we met, I'll just mention this real quick, is because of chiropractic and how much it's helped you, you do a lot of marketing now. You used to do, or I probably still do, for these large corporations, but you're really focusing on these smaller clinics, 1 or 2 doctor clinics like myself that need to do some Facebook and marketing and SEO and all the things that I don't know very well. And you actually made our website. And so it's really neat how you're able to use your talents to further spread this message of healthy eating, healthy lifestyle, good quality corrective chiropractic care. And so I'm just so glad that I had you on the show, and really, I really appreciate what you're doing for the profession.
And I appreciate what the profession has done for me. I met you speaking on stage at a chiropractic conference, and I shared with that room, and I share with all those who are listening that the chiropractic community's attention to allowing the body to heal naturally is what we were intended to do. And I'm living proof that if you stick to what all these chiropractors preach every day, with getting adjusted, eating the right food, supplementation, your body will heal naturally and you will feel like $1 million. From a marketing perspective, if I can work with clinics like yours and other clinics to spread that message, because I'm not a chiropractor, I didn't go to school for that. I can't heal the way your hands heal, but I can heal through my computer by getting more people in your doors or other people's doors. So I appreciate the opportunity to help serve the chiropractic community and from a marketing perspective, and coming on shows like this, because people need to hear this, and people need to get the old, what I say on our podcast, kind of like the Dr. Phil backhand, like just, hey, listen, you got to change. You got to adapt, and you got to do it now before it's too late.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And folks, if you want to hear more from Derek, join his podcast. It's Adapt Health. You can find it on Apple. You can find it on Spotify. You can probably find it just about anywhere. And folks, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on Thriving Chiropractic.
If you found value in this video, please comment and let us know your biggest takeaway. We also ask that you don't keep this information to yourself. We ask that you share it with your friends and family by simply clicking the share button below.